To us, magic sounds like this extraordinary thing, pulling a rabbit out of the hat, coming out of nowhere. But it's here, it's real. And the more that we are open to the unseen, to the energies of this world, to abundance and manifesting, to calling in and growing, the more we'll be able to call magic into our lives. Join me as I share stories, wisdom, and curiosity around connecting with your higher frequency, tapping into the synchronicities of the universe, and opening up to the unseen possibilities that this world has to offer. I am your host, Dayna Faye, and this is the Ordinary Magic Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ordinary Magic. I am so excited to have on Dani Wild today from Nectar House. I've had the privilege of working with Dani at least 2 times now, receiving an Akashic record reading from her. And they are such a powerful session. Definitely check out her website, check out her Instagram. We'll link all of those in the show notes. But Dani's presence to me is just full on steeped in the spiritual world, and not in a bypassing way, but in a very human way. And I don't even know how to explain that. And so I've personally been wanting to have a conversation with Dani about how she has really brought together earth and the ether, or the material and the spiritual world, and really seems, from my perception at least, to seamlessly go through that and integrate it all. So Dani, thank you so much for being on today and for sharing your presence with us all.
I am so excited to be here. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to just be in the temple and share transmissions with you, as well as just receive from the space. So I'm so excited to dive in. I mean, my greatest passions are pretty much at the intersection of spirituality and entrepreneurship in a very deep, embodied way of working in those fields of spirituality and entrepreneurship, but also a very embodied way of living. And as you named, it may seem seamless now or very synthesized in my own reality, but it's been almost a decade of deep journeying to get to this place. And so I do feel that I am the woman that I always imagined that I could be today, but it's still so evolutionary across those landscapes, which are so integrated in my field: spirituality, entrepreneurship, relationship. I feel like those are the main pillars we're going to really dive into today. So yeah, just stoked to be here, really.
And did you find spirituality and entrepreneurship at the same time? Did one come before the other? How did that all start out?
Yeah. So I moved through a very big spiritual awakening in about 2015, 2016. And I mean, it was all kind of brewing, like the landscape of my life. It was just, I had outgrown the landscape, and I didn't really have language for all of this, but I had outgrown career and corporate marketing. That structure was not deeply nourishing my evolutionary landscape. I was static, and even kind of experiencing a sort of death within that stagnancy. It just wasn't serving me. And so I had outgrown it. And so the spiritual awakening just illuminated my horizon, essentially. And it invited me to look at life differently. Like, if our art is more than the tools and the materials that we use, our art is really more about the perspective, the way that we see the world. And so all of that changed and illuminated. And so it kind of all happened at once for me.
That must have been a little jarring at first.
Absolutely. Yeah. I went from living in Atlanta, having community, corporate structure. I was in a partnership with someone at the time. Our partnership, it always felt like it was dying. And we were always trying to find the heart and the nectar and the soul of us together. But we had the house and the vision and the long-term plans and the communication. We had relationship counseling. We did relationship retreats together. We had the house, but the fire wasn't on. Like, the hearth wasn't lit. And we were always trying to find the hearth of us. So career was dull and dying and decaying. Relationship dull, dying, decaying. my experience of being in Atlanta, my experience of myself. It was all just kind of ready to be transmuted into a new way of being, a new way of moving through the world, a new way of earning, providing for my life, a new way of just completely relating with this reality in every sense. So yeah, I sold everything. I left everything I knew. And while that was jarring, it provided me a freedom that at that time I needed. Now, I don't think that we need to leave everything in our lives to completely transform our lives, because spiritual awakening is often just the awakening of the inner world, right? The realization that we are more than our mind. If we're just identified with the mind, that's the experience that we're having on earth. There's something so much deeper. I call it the soul. You may call it something different. But in my heart and in my perspective now, we have the technology of the mind, the technology of the nervous system, the technology of the body. But who we really are is soul. So it gave me an opportunity to get deeply in touch with who I really am.
And so that sent you on what sounds like a deep journey. Like you said, not everyone has to sell the house, sell your things, go travel, whatever it is you do. You can do this in a more inner way, inner journey. But it sounds like you also took that outer journey and like really went for it.
I did, yeah. I had just sort of looked around my life, and the way that I put it to friends and even family at the time, I was like, if there was a rug under my life, I just wanted to like pick up the whole rug and like shift everything. So if I looked around in every room of my life, I had just outgrown it, and it was no longer serving me. It just wasn't. And so I was brave and courageous, and I started this journey that was so full of mystery in the beginning. I had a very simple vision given to me through my first psychedelic ceremony. I had never done anything like this before, but nothing that I was trying in the conventional path was working for me. It was maybe getting me just a little bit, but it just wasn't breaking through in the way that I knew that there was some sort of breakthrough pulsing for me. And so I went into this experience having no idea, having a lot of fear, really, a lot of resistance, but I was given a vision. And the vision, I think it said 5 things: travel, coaching, yoga, photography, and I think writing was the last one. Those were like the pillars of my passions and the pillars of my life. And the next day I got to work creating that. Within a year, I had left Atlanta, ended that relationship. I was traveling. There was really no identification with comfort around me. That had completely shifted. I was willing to redefine what security meant for me in terms of money, relationship, career, everything. I was just ready. It was brewing for so long that all the courage, in the beginning, all I needed was courage. Like, I didn't need the confidence yet. I didn't need the knowing. I didn't even really need the direct experience, but I just needed the courage, and the courage to turn the page and meet whatever the mystery had in store for me. Something that my teacher often says is, we must make the mystery our beloved, right? If we look out to the landscape of our lives, I was such a future tripper. I was so anxious and tightly wound. But if we don't make the vast mystery of whatever the rest of our life entails our beloved, to me, there's an existential ache and a fear of what may lie ahead. And studies show that some people do tend to have optimistic view toward the future. I feel like anxiety, I feel like there was an existential ache brewing very deep. Now that I have perspective, almost a decade later, there was an existential ache brewing very, very deeply, and I was ready to surrender to that pulsation.
That's so beautiful. And I'm so happy you were able to receive that vision. And really, from how I see you from afar, is you are still doing those 5 pillars, which is so cool. I'm hearing a lot of people ask, there's probably so many people out there who are going down the rabbit hole of different spiritual tools. I'm having clients now who are just going through their awakenings, and they want to really go down deep, but yet they are very much still in the material world, in their corporate jobs with the same relationships. There's 2 things that are coming up for me. Is it possible to keep some of these same relationships, but change your inner landscape and world within those? And the other one is money mindset for people who are wanting to really take that courageous road like you did. There's a lot of fear. I can feel it as you were talking, like, oh, that's so dangerous and not secure. And you said it yourself. You had to change your mindset around, what does security mean? What does comfort mean?
Yeah, it was a complete redefine, to be honest. And at that time in my life, I was so ready for that because there was so much ache and scarcity and anxiety and depression. And there was enough discomfort for me to fully plunge. Like, I didn't want to just evolve a little bit. I didn't just want a microdose transformation. I wanted the macro dose, like, and I was vibrating, telling the universe, like, give it to me. You know, my dad says this all the time. He says, you were born with the courage, Dani. You're so brave. And so maybe I am, but I don't think what I've done is that extraordinary. I think that anyone can do it. And we don't have to wait for the discomfort to get that intense. We can be proactive in our lives. And so for anyone who's looking to create change in their life, and I'm still looking for change in my life, right? The evolutionary landscape of my life, that is the foundation of Dharma. Dharma is this beautiful word, rich word with so many meanings. And through the yogic tradition that I walk, the Yoga Vedantic tradition, the foundation of Dharma is your own self-evolution. So when you lose touch with that, you lose touch with the other pieces of this. They call it the Dharmic triangle. Self-evolution, number one. Number two, relative Dharma. What is the purpose right in front of your face? There's always purpose right in front of us. And so that's learning to fulfill the need of the hour elegantly. And then the third one is where we're really living the Dharma, right? We look out into the landscape of our lives, and Dharma, deep purpose, the awakening of higher frequencies within our DNA, it is everywhere we look. And that's where we can really explore dharmic business and just the roles and the ways that we serve, the medicine that our soul came to serve, the transmission that we came here to serve. So step one for anyone seeking that growth, because that growth is seeking you as well, really hone into the evolutionary landscape, the curriculum of your life right now. Where is the discomfort? It might be internal. It might have an externalized experience happening. So what's in the external? What lies in the internal? And that is where the key is. That is where your next breakthrough is, wherever the resistance and the discomfort is brewing. And to touch on the second piece, I think sometimes we make business in the modern era way too complex, way too complicated. I've been in business for 8-9 years, and I pretty much, unless I have a retreat going on, which is additional expense, I pretty much run my business for about $300 a month. So I think sometimes we make business this bigger thing. Like, I personally appreciate having low overhead, very simple expenses, and I really harness resources in my life toward my growth, toward travel, toward wellness, sauna, cold plunge, things like that. That's where I harness my resources, but I keep business incredibly simple. So sometimes, just to demystify, and I have primarily an online business. So for some of you, that's a really easy entrance door, because in today's modern era, there is so much support for, like, within this creator's economy that we live in, to be an entrepreneur right here, right now. And the entrepreneurship, to me, is one of the new shamanic paths and initiatory landscapes for our modern era, to create that freedom to be exactly who we were born to be, and to not have these artificial structures in our lives that cling us to a certain identity, because that's evolving all of the time. And identity is essential. Identity offers boundary. The body offers boundary, and boundary offers meaning to our voyage across the physical landscape of our lives. But we also have a part of us that is eternal and timeless. And in my core code and direct knowledge. Yeah. So I gave a lot there, but hopefully I'm not.
You did. I'm soaking it all in. Wow. I really love how you kind of demystified at least how you're doing business and how maybe somebody from the outside looking in could go, oh, I can't become an entrepreneur. I need so much money in my savings first. I need stability. I need all these things. But $300 a month, man, that's a gym membership. That's like a studio gym membership. That's pretty simple.
I love to keep it simple. I really do. And it's somewhere in my Gene Keys profile. I know you love the Gene Keys system as I do. Something like integrating complexity into simplicity.
No, that's so beautiful.
The entryway in right now to entrepreneurship, which is, I'm really passionate about it. And it doesn't mean it's everyone's path. So I trust that your life is revealing whatever the next door is for you. And yeah, it's in our lives right now. Like it's not outside. It's right here, right now, in this inner and outer landscape.
Yeah. And I'm on year 3 of entrepreneurship. And I really agree with you in that it has brought me freedom to be on my spiritual journey, actually, to not have to turn the switch on and off, but to start to allow it to come into all areas of my business, all areas of my life, all areas, like you mentioned, of my health and wellness. Of if there's a day where my willpower is just not there, right? I have an undefined heart in human design. I'm not meant to be working hard every single day. I'm able to start to bring awareness to myself and my soul and my body. And like you said, start to integrate all that. Where it seems to be as if I'm in the teenage phase of all of this is with perhaps in relationships, in community, as my offerings start to be more in the spiritual industry. Let's call it, like some people do, woo woo, right? As it becomes more that, I'm a little awkward talking to people in my life, whether that's my daughter's friends' parents or people who aren't in that world. I want to be me all the time, Dani, but I tend to stumble over my words lately of when I'm trying to share that I channel or that I really do care that there's a full moon today. Did you have a phase like that at all?
Yeah, I think most people do. It's part of the initiation. It's part of the rite of passage. And anywhere we're not comfortable yet, bridging our true essence, because I imagine that channeling and the intuitive path that you're walking is just bridging you deeper home to your true essence, because that's what it is. Spirituality brings us into our deep authenticity. And whether you work with the fields and you call the field God, or you enter it more through science and quantum physics, we're talking about this intelligent field that pulsates all around us and in and through our bodies. So many pathways in to understanding spirituality open the entire field for me. But that's not necessarily everyone's path. We have a strong mind in our culture, at least here in the Western world. And sometimes the mind is not ready to trust spirituality. So, yeah, was it awkward at first? I mean, I was so in love with everything that was happening in my life. I'm sure there was awkward moments and interactions and times that I didn't feel like I could fully bridge my full sense of self that I was connecting to. I know actually I can remember challenges, especially like with my parents, not because they judge me or impose on my path, not at all. But there was something, I think just like deep authenticity with my family has been kind of the piece. And so looking at where we're seeking approval or where we're a little bit underdeveloped in our voice. But I remember feeling just so in love and lit up by everything that I was really eager to share it. And that eagerness has matured. But in the beginning, when we were first awakening, we're like, oh my gosh, like everyone should experience this. And then you kind of mature on the path a little bit or a lot of it. And you realize everyone's on their own journey and you don't need to convince anyone of anything. You live in the deep embodiment and pulsation of your truth. And that's it. And you just keep doing that. And you can invite people to see you and meet you there, but you can't expect it. So yeah, that's been my path.
That's such a great message for everybody because I was definitely there in the beginning as well. I just so lit up about everything I was discovering, thinking like, you got to have this. You have to know about this. And now I'm definitely in a place of like, if they book a session, it's because they want to. Like, it's because then we can talk about it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I've been doing this for 8-9 years. And in the last year, I've had so many men come into the work that don't necessarily have. Men are incredibly intelligent. They are. And they're redefining on planet Earth right now what it means to be a man, is what I'm at least direct experiencing with my clients. But many of the men have had a spiritual foundation coming into the work, but many of them have not. And so sometimes I'm their first intuitive reading and so that's been really exciting to connect with men all over the world, but especially here in the in US, is just they're ready to try something new. Even men in fields of science where they're saying they're doctors, they're neurosurgeons, they're scientists, they're biologists, they're saying there's something in the deep mystery that science is not validated for me. And I want to have conversations that connect me to that. And so it's been incredible.
Exciting.
Yeah, the world is changing.
Oh my gosh, really bringing the science and spirituality together. I mean, that is so exciting.
It is.
Hey, magical beings, are you ready to connect deeply with your soul and uncover your true purpose and path? It's Dayna from Ordinary Magic, and I have 2 special offerings just for you. With my human design readings, you'll discover your unique blueprint and learn how to live in harmony with your true nature. And through my soul alignment sessions, we will connect to your higher self and your spirit team to gain profound clarity and deeper connection to your soul's essence. So whether you're facing life's challenges or simply need an energetic tune-up, book your session today and let's embark on this magical journey together. Visit my website at daynafaye.com and now stay tuned for more soul nourishing content.
And there's so many people on earth right now, and anyone listening, maybe you're one of them, that is that bridge. Like, I know my Dharma codes are more in the field of spirituality, but there are so many bridges of people who feel a passionate energy toward both science and spirituality, and they are the bridges of unifying what can often be separate or experienced as separate, seen as separate. And that kind of brings that ancient native prophecy of the condor and the eagle coming together, the eagle representing the mind and technology, and the condor, the heart, the sensuality, the body coming together, and us rising into that higher vibration in this Aquarian age transition on our planet.
Yes. And another thing I wanted to ask you about is, again, this is how I perceive you, that you bring such a great balance between your masculine side and your feminine side. I can see both in you, in the way that you post on social media, in the way that you share yourself. How has that journey been for you, and kind of where are you at today?
Yeah, there's been a mantra with me the last few years, because life has been humbling. There's been many, many teachers, experience, and there's been just a landscape of learning. And so I've been in this like kind of maturation cocoon, and I've sort of been slowly rising out of this for the last year or so. But I had made a move to North Carolina, and the yen-rich land there just wanted to hold me for a short 2-year chapter. But I say that was the winter of my life. Depression, just really, I was clearing depression in my etheric body. I was burning out in work. This was 2021. And so I really felt like I entered and surrendered to the winter of my life, and then surrendered to this maturation cocoon. It has lasted almost the last 2-3 years. And in the last year, I've been slowly kind of crawling out of that, because I did reach a certain level of success and visibility and public recognition and all that of my business right away. But there was a lot of lessons in that for me as well. And so I kind of say that my spirituality has humbled my journey in business. And so I felt like I was humbled down to the soils to kind of breathe with the soils and to bring the next level of who I am into the world and to be even more aligned and attuned to my deep compass of truth within. So I do feel balanced. I feel like I'm realizing the self in love. And maybe that's what self-love really is realizing the self in love. And there's still ways that I am deeply learning to integrate and grow on my path here and now. It just continues. I went to India in spring, this past spring, and to sit with a living master was so incredibly rich. One of the highest honors of my life, and humbling on the same note, because it's like maybe this is what people experience when they experience channeling with anyone, with me. But it was like feeling like I was just sitting with a fully embodied, integrated, Akashic channel in a sense. And, I touch in, I do this 20 hours a week. So the frequency of channeling in the Akash is stabilized within my being and within my baseline. But I am having mirrors of even deeper embodiments and expanders for me on this path to keep being so inspired and to have like an incredible teacher and to remember that's within and to live that and speak that. But when I went to India, I did bring a lot of ignorance to the guru-student relationship. But when we're awakened to the guru within our heart, we see the guru is all around. And how wonderful and valuable that is to have that in a teacher. Just that profound, higher embodiment of love. So all of that to say, I work with the chakra system. It's the traditional tantric chakra system because it's brought me into direct experience, right? Concept and belief only serves us if it brings us into direct experience. So to me, my development is happening at the level of the chakra system, and I'm only as strong as I am developed in my chakras. So there might be a weakening in point of my chakra system, and that's where I'm developing. A chakra can be deficient, can be kind of lacking in energy, kind of quiet, maybe inferiority, just not well trained and stabilized, but it can also be overactive. Maybe it feels like kind of buzzing, just incoherent, disorganized energy, amplification, heat in the body. It can show up in a lot of different ways. But to me, I'm developing my consciousness through each of the chakras, as through the Sushumna, where the Ida, feminine line, moon channel, and the Pingala, masculine yang, solar channel, unite, where the Kundalini can flow. So I localize it to the body, I localize it to my spiritual practice, and I continue on this journey, and it's humbling and it's beautiful and it's real.
Thank you for sharing that. That was so vulnerable and rich. And I'm wondering, as you explained that channel, have you had a Kundalini awakening?
Yeah, so Kundalini awakening is not just a singular event, just like enlightenment is not just this event that happens in our life and we reach this higher state and we just stay there. The way I kind of say it in my own language is like we microdose it before we stabilize it. So over the last 8-9 years, I've had many Kundalini experiences that are contributing to a greater Kundalini awakening, the awakening of Kundalini energy in my life. And for those of you kind of new to Kundalini, it's this idea that we have a sleeping serpent within the root chakra that is this electric pulsation of Shakti energy. And as we're ready and we call upon our awakening, as we seek our awakening and it seeks, as it seeks, this snake begins to wake up and rise from the Muladhara root. And then it starts to rise up. And there's different pathways of energy. The Vayus, we say it in yoga. So this energy is also coursing downward, the Apana Vayu, and upward, the Prana Vayu, and all throughout the electrical currents of the field. We are so vibratory as beings, and there's just, in my opinion, hundreds of chakras, thousands of nadis. They say 72,000, just energy, electrical current, signals, and pathways in the body. And different traditions have different perspectives on that. Traditional Chinese medicine, et cetera, et cetera. The Celtics, I think, work with more spirals in the energy system. So again, concept only serves us if it brings us into direct experience. So I don't even really wish to bring concept here, but really a way that you can open to direct experience, because that is the most profound experience you can possibly have of your own energy system, of spirituality, of love, of we can consume all of this concept. But when we actually have the experience, that's where the awakening can really happen. So yeah, this Kundalini rises, and as it rises up the Sushumna, the central channel, it's moving along the major energy hub points we call chakras. And it's awakening them, restoring them, enlivening them. But you're facing that content. These chakras are data points. They're data centers filled with multi-dimensional layered information. So you're meeting yourself. And there's a still point in each of the chakras. And in that still point is the non-dual. And so, of course, we're traversing this landscape of duality here on earth, right, wrong, good, bad, the 3D physical world. But we also have this incredible intelligence and access to the field within the boundary of our body and in our consciousness storehouse. The body is a storehouse of our consciousness and its vibrational power. And so we can connect to that still point and connect and access non-dual states of intelligence. And we can microdose our consciousness and really shift our reality. I guess that's awakening. If I thought about what I'm really describing here, it's like, it's the profound awakening that is just, there's so many ways to name awakening. So many ways.
Yeah. Thank you so much for describing that, because I was thinking about that the other day as I was just contemplating. I haven't researched Kundalini awakening. I haven't learned about the concept. And I was chuckling to myself that I intuitively felt like I must be having little ones, because I'm not where I was 2 years ago. I've had these little micro ones. So what you explained felt very resonant. And I love that you keep hammering home that it's really learning the concept is great, but really feeling this in your body, experiencing it for yourself is like key. Do you have any, if you were to give somebody right now, like a at home practice, what is your favorite one to our listeners?
It's important to have a foundation of meditation. So for anyone listening, in my Himalayan yogic tradition, that is the foundation. I think they even have a requirement for anyone going to do an immersive training to have maybe 6 months or a year of foundation with meditation before going to the next level. So meditation is the foundation. And it's important to create that foundation and to enter this from a regulated place, from an ability to self-regulate. We're all on that journey where no matter where we are in the path, but to be able to ground yourself, to be able to center and not over-identify with the waves passing through us, to be able to connect to the seat of the witness, be in observer state, and witness all that's moving through us and stabilize the nervous system. Maybe that's a breath practice for you. Maybe that's going out in nature. Maybe that's something else. Being able to stabilize the nervous system, because experiencing higher and higher and higher and higher states of consciousness, it also requires us to keep digging our roots very deep so that we don't get blown out. That's not what the divine intelligence wants for us, but it is up to us. And not that we could ever be given more than we can handle. I mean, people certainly have really big Kundalini awakenings. And from what I've heard, two things exist. They wish they had a foundation, but also it was exactly meant to happen in the way that it happened. So a foundation is essential. And then Let me feel. It's got to be a chakra practice. Is it bija sounds? Is it? Yeah. Sound. I mean, our voice is attuned to every cell in our body. Our voice, the coherence of our voice, the tone, the vibration, very connected to our nervous system. Sometimes we may even encounter a voice that we just don't like, and maybe it's revealing that whoever's voice that belongs to is in a state of dysregulation, or it brings something up in us that we're in a state of dysregulation. So we're going to work with voice, and it's going to be this simple bija sounds. Bija is just the very simple, it's a sound mantra that correlates with each of the 7 main energy hubs. So from a state of foundation, a state of regulation, or this can be a regulating tool. So I want to offer that as well. Come into the Muladhara root, base of spine, between the genitals and the anus, perineum, ancient point. Hold your awareness there. This is the seat of Kundalini. The Muladhara is the seat of fear. And it's Lam with an L. Lam, Lam, Lam. 3 times or 1. And then we come into Svadhisthana. That is the sacral chakra. This is relationships, creativity, commitment, joy, pleasure, sexuality. And it looks like Vam, V-A-M, but in India we say Vam, Vam, Vam. Coming into just above the navel, Manipura, solar plexus chakra, with an R, Ram, Ram, Ram. Seat of personal willpower, action-oriented, fire, Agni, digestion, absorption, rising still, Anahata, center of the heart, just vibrating there, feeling your heart center, coming into the heart, or into the throat chakra, coming to throat is voice, expression, manifestation, communication. Third eye, Agya or Anjana chakra, Om, Om, Om. Seat of the mystic, seat of the higher vision, higher mind. It's the master chakra. Crown, we also work with Om in my tradition. Om, Om. So moving through the chakra. And really, you don't need to work with sound, but if you can locate kind of core points for each of these major energy hubs, you can start to work with them more intentionally. And that can be sound, that can be breath work, that can be yoga poses, right? Of course, the asana, the postures. There's physical points, but also energetic points, meditation, so many ways, right? So many pathways in. Same room, but many pathways in. So finding what connects you to a direct experience, and then taking that road of direct experience, developing along through direct experience, but also willing to practice. Sadhana is the word that we call it, dedicated practice. And as yogis in my tradition, we commit to daily sadhana.
How do you now structure your days, your weeks, your month around this daily practice and entrepreneurship?
In a perfect world, I wake up, brush my teeth, splash some cold water, sit down for meditation. Life's a little messier than that for me, in a sense that there's just a wildness, and there's an ecstasy within the wildness as well. So I split time between Colorado and Florida, and yeah, I live a life of movement. So ideally, and this is essentially what I do, this is the map, but the map is not always the terrain. I wake up, and the morning hours are for attunement, attuning to the day. As the sun gets higher in the sky, heats up the yang energy. That's where I love active client-facing work, creation, outward-facing activities, right? Kind of the yin, attunement, morning, meditation, practice, moving into just inspired, active, yang, solar energy. Afternoon, that starts to die down a little bit. And I usually integrate through some physical practice, exercise. Actually, love CrossFit. I love hot yoga. Even with walking a more traditional yogic path, I will always and forever love a hot yoga class and a deep journey through the physical body. And then moving into kind of the yin hours of the night, kind of letting that yang heat and hyper action oriented time start to die down into a more yin night, studying, reading. I love ancient literature. I love books on what I'm curious about, and especially books that hold vibrational power. Right? There's plenty of books that we can't feel the author's heart on the shelf, and they're kind of flat reads, but books that hold a very strong vibrational power. We may not even get very far on the page because it illuminates us so much. I love to kind of, feed the mind healthy things in the yin evening. So I do have a healthy work-life balance, but I really love what I do. So when it's inspired, I go for it. If I create at night, that can happen too. I love the lunar hours and when the world kind of softens because we're all connected to this earth grid. So I've always loved, like, for example, working on Saturdays because the outer landscape of the community is busier on Saturdays. So I love to kind of be in the cave in creation mode. And yeah.
I love that too, and I didn't realize why. So thank you for sharing that.
And Saturn kind of rules Saturday. So just strong work
Get some
ethic.
of my best work done on Saturdays. And I'm like, everyone's running to Home Depot and I'm out in here like creating.
I
love
love
it.
it too. Yeah. So that's and it's a lot more wild than that. But if I named it, that's the map. And then the curriculum of my life plays out a little more wildly. Life is linear and non-linear. So intuitively moving through my life is high value to me as well.
Yeah. And before we wrap up today, I have one more question. How did you intuitively move through when you said you were living in North Carolina and you said it was a little more moving through depression out of your body? How did you still strike a balance of your business and your personal goals in moving through all of that?
There was about 2 or 3 months that I took a break in business and just allowed myself to just rest. When I first got to North Carolina, I tried to go right back into client work, but I think I had 3 clients, and I always trust who comes in at what time. I do. And I think now, as I've grown in the work, I can hold both my own awakening and be with that journey intimately, but also neutralize, clear the field, the mind, and attune and be with someone else in their journey. And sometimes when I am so in touch with my own suffering, it even carves out deeper empathy and compassion and in that presence for what others are moving through. So I trust exactly who comes in at what time, but I did end up taking a break that winter. And I remember my whole life was coffee enemas. I just started doing coffee enemas, which completely changed my life, completely supported me in resetting the solar plexus, the manipura, and as well as other more physicalized release. And I was cooking healthy soups and pretty much just nourishing the self, listening to music, dance, yoga, just taking it all off, being willing to say this is a season of self, a season of rest. And I felt within a few months I was ready to come back into client work, but I think I created boundary and understanding of what my capacity was for that time. So I think I was just taking maybe 5 clients max a week. And again, trusting exactly who comes in with where I'm at energetically. And that phase of my life serves my leadership and my teaching as well. Yeah, I think those are like kind of the practicals, but essentially just when I'm so in touch with my own evolution, I'm not out of Dharma. I am so deep in Dharma. And although there are times in our lives that really require our full heart and focus, for the most part now, I have the capacity to really deeply be with my own journey my own evolutionary process, and also walk with another intimately and intuitively at the same time. And I believe it serves that client too. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I know your energy definitely served my listeners and me today and opened our eyes to, and this is exactly what I wanted in a conversation with you, was just to open my eyes to a way of living that is unconventional and different than, at least in my little pocket of the world, than anyone in the way, than anyone else is living. So I really, really appreciate you showing that, because myself and my listeners included, who are maybe on this more evolutionary path, we can't step into that unless we're kind of shown even examples of that. I mean, we can dream it up, but to show that you can still be a full functioning human in the world and tap into this essence every single day of your soul and do the self work and do the client work or create the thing or whatever your dharma is in this lifetime. So I'm feeling so inspired and motivated. Thank you so much, Dani.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And yes, for anyone that wants to deepen on their path, I think just the simple, just have a daily practice and start with meditation. If you already have meditation, build upon that. That's the foundation. And the ordinary magic, the practical magic will start circulating in your awareness. Sacred rapture is when the inner landscape and the outer landscape are in full harmony. So sometimes the outer landscape of our lives doesn't match how we're feeling on the inside. And that's an incredible initiatory landscape to walk and really start to create our lives from the inside out. And whoever you are out there, you're living a beautiful life. And the curriculum of your life right now, it holds the codes of your awakening. So may your journey be so blessed. May you be blessed by this conversation and deeply trust your now moment in life.
Thank you. And where can people find you if they'd like to work with you in the future?
Awesome. Living Nectar is my Instagram handle, Living Nectar. I'm sure that'll be in the show notes. You can always email me. Maybe if you really felt this conversation, you can reach out to me through email. I really love connecting. That's why I do this, why I stay visible, why I bring my business and my offerings back into the sunlight after those periods of closure and cocooning, is to play with you, to walk with you, to awaken with you. So it's my highest honor, really, to be a friend on the path.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Dani.
you so much. Oh, this was amazing.
Ordinary Magic is a Lit Path Studios production, produced by Jamie Gale and Dayna Faye. Music is by Shane Ivers. Until next time, I wish you many powerful moments of ordinary magic.